record. Okay. And then I have to do one other thing. I have to make myself live, and that's why that is happening like that. Okay. So, and then that. Okay, welcome to yet another of my live, which I call Under the Spotlight. I'm your host, Stafford Perkins. And this evening we decided to do something different from politics or anything too hard. We tried to present a softer side of ourselves this evening, the more cultural side. With me this evening, we have some talented people. We have one of the greats in the Jamaica folklore business, and that is Mrs. Amina Blackwood Meeks. She's a folklorist, and she's been with us for a while, and she seems to be one of the favorites with the departure of people like Miss Lou and Ran and those people. She has been there doing her thing and representing well. Another person we have is Mr. Andrew Braata Clarke. Yeah, Braata, as for those who know, is of course what we call, it's a Jamaican slang, Jamaican language, Jamaican jargon. And Braata means to get more than, a little extra. And it's usually relates to food. When we're, you want to say you're buying some food and say, give me some Braata, people would go to the market and they would ask for Braata on the thing. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing him yet, so I hope somebody can call out him and tell him he's to get ready and come on. So anyway, so the second, I think this is him now. Who is this? Let me see. There's a person, not sure about, but it might be, that's where he's calling from. All right, so we have Andrew Braata Clarke, who is himself a folklorist. I met him quite a few years ago. He's a pretty young man, and when I saw him in performance for the first time, about 15 years, I said how wonderful it was, because most of the senior people were stepping off the stage or were not, up to it to come on stage or whatever. And he was there building this thing. I remember when I see him, he reminds me of a young Rex Nettleford. And he's very articulate at what he does. And it's always great seeing him in performance. The next person we have two of my good friends. One is Mr. Chris Castriota, commonly called Chris, and he's known in some circles, which we're not going to mention right now, so not to have anybody segregating. Let's see, somebody that must admit this person. It might be Andrew, hopefully, well, either one of them, I need to see them now. And this, that's Mr. Braata himself, he just came in. And so the one that is left out and still waiting, maybe trying to find his way into the room. But luckily, I put him to come up second, in the second segment. I'm breaking this program into two segments, 2 30-minute segments. And the way it will be, I will bring on Chris first to do two of his poems. And the reason is, he has to do, it could be that we could make him come back, do one, then come back. But so as to simplify it a little bit, to help myself operating as a one-man band, I asked him to do both poems at once. All right. We just said that, just remind ourselves that we have come through a very tough time, another tough year, and that we are hoping and wishing and hoping that we will see a better time in 2022, because 2021 didn't give us any hope at all, because as we came to the end of it, up came this Omicron variant. The good news, I think, on Omicron, I don't want to speak too early, but it is showing that Omicron might not stick around as long as, say, what's it called, that other one that is going out. Omicron seemed to have taken over from it. And it's not showing to be as deadly as the one just before it. So we are hoping that what is showing in South Africa is that it's dying out in South Africa. Whether it's killing off whatever it was there before it, it's another story. But we want to just hope and pray that comes the new year. Maybe I should pour libation to this, but I'm just going to hold back on that a little bit. I know Amina would know what to do when we talk about pour libation, some serious stuff that, and I probably should pour libation to ask the great spirits of whole to step in and do something for us and take over from this crazy virus. So here I am with my thing. I want to pour libation to the great spirits of old, to the ancestors, to the immediate past people, mother and father, aunts and uncles, those who have passed through because of these viruses that have taken over our lives and it's disrupting our lives. So we just ask them to step in and take charge and to help to drive these viruses, crazy viruses, out of our lives, and so we can return to normalcy. All right, so with that, let me just call on Mr. Chris Castriota to come in and do his part. 1 second before you go, Chris. Andrew, if you want to just tilt, I think you want to tilt your camera. It might be, so yes. And I hope you might, I wonder if you could find any extra light, because I know people want to see you. No, you'd have, maybe have to have something like a lamp or something to shine in your face, yeah. So you have a little bit of time while Chris does his thing. So if you can grab a lamp or something.
How much? I'm actually in a hotel lobby. I didn't want to be in there.
Oh, okay. I will.
I'll head to the room instead.
I have something that might help them to see you when I put it on. All right. Okay. So I'm going to ask Chris to just go ahead, and I'm going to
How long do I have? Good evening, by the way. Good evening, Amina. Blessings, love and blessings. Chris, big up yourself.
Good evening. It's great to see you. It's great to see everyone.
And Chris,
while we're having this interruption, Stafford, can you just pour something for Archbishop Tutu?
Exactly. He's now an ancestor. They say we have lost him in physical form, but he's now one of our great ancestors. So in honor of Desmond Tutu, who has moved on from us, and we thank him for the work he did in his time.
90 years strong.
And who else? Who did you say something, Chris?
I think he served us 90 years strong.
Exactly. And in a very tough place in South Africa at the time when in the height of the apartheid system. I think he was thrown in jail a few times himself. So we just want to thank him for his work and ask him for his continued guidance and in the front line with the warrior spirits who are out there fighting for us, because trust me, they're out there and people might not want to recognize this, but we saw what just happened in Ethiopia, where people were fighting to overthrow a democratically elected government to suit their own purposes. But something is in Ethiopia that protects that place from any kind of evil or demonic force. So with that, of course, we go back to, if there's somebody else who has something, another request about a spirit, someone who has moved on is now a spirit, then please mention it so we can do what we have to do. All right, so with that, Chris Castriota, please.
Are you hearing me clearly, Stafford?
You are fairly good, unless you can get a little more volume. I don't know if I don't want you to come too close to say, we not see all of you, but maybe you want to come a little closer to the mic.
Is this any better?
Yeah, we will live with it. It will work. Yes, thank you. Go ahead and start your presentation.
Was written in 2009, third happiest nation on earth. Never knew Jamaica had such internationally recognized mirth, coming from 53 to almost first, and doing so in only 3 years is an amazing burst. 50 places in 3 years shows that we are not just blessed, but truly brave. Even with some of us being so savage, the murders, rapes, robberies, and road carnage have clearly not done our national psyche significant damage. It shows that we are full of courage and use our smile to hide our wreckage. But is that the sustainable way to continue to live? The report speaks to our human well-being and environmental impact. Maybe more a dichotomous fact. This land of wood and water has undergone too much slaughter, not a positive example for our son or daughter. Yes, many have suffered and known what it is to be a pauper, but that never stopped us from clawing our way up the ladder, coming to equality with those who used to be our master. Have to strive to more than just survive, so we can keep the smile alive as we bask in the sun from the skies and realize the potential inside. Hope my vision is not too wide, but as a nation, we really need to hit our stride. At 47, Jamaica can simply no longer be along for the ride. Develop our pride. Find the ethics and morality needed as a broad-minded but focused guide. Don't get me wrong. Love the light of which these outsiders have shone on us so bright. Don't become paralyzed with fright or stare complacently into the night, because do believe that if we fight for the right, yes, we can. We actually might. The second one, Gifts of, also done in 2009. Oh, what a joy to watch that boy. He handles the competition as though playing with a toy. The same enjoys what he does, always giving the crowds a mighty buzz. His long legs eating up the track, even when his head is looking back, has certainly given athletics a lift, wowing the world with his talent, a special gift. Has definitely put Jamaica on the world map. Let us use it to move forward, not look back. As the saying is on the track, let's excel and put Jamaica firmly on track. Dig deep individually and recognize that it takes us all to really build this country.
Good, thank you, sir. All right, let me see, I want to do something here. A little bit nervous about doing it, but I will attempt at doing it. All right, so with that, I might want to ask Chris if, it's two very, I would say, very, for lack of a better expression to me right now, two potent pieces of poetry, which speaks to Jamaica, which is very nice that it is directly addressing Jamaica, because we are talking about Jamaicans in their cultural talents, and you are expressing their cultural talents in many forms. And this is a form that I think that needs to be pushed out some more. And we want to just say thank you for coming. Thank you for agreeing to come on board and for doing this for us. I want to try something very crazy before, I think Andrew stepped away. Hopefully he's still there. Yes. All right, I see you worked on the lighting. All right, cool, very good. I wanna do something here, which is kind of crazy. We're seeing you very good. I'm trying to bring in, if not, I might just leave it alone because I don't want to waste, I don't want to spoil anything. Unless somebody want to tell me, and I've never done this before, I have the clip set up. Now, if I wanted to go to a clip, I'm going to ask a question openly. I want to go to a clip which I have lined up, but I don't want to go mess with it and then lose everybody. So what's the best approach if somebody can make a suggestion? I want to bring in the clip, as a clip. Somebody expert at this?
Okay, not really an expert. Hopefully this is your solution, but at the middle of the screen, so beside participants chat, there's share screen. You click share screen.
Oh, so that's right.
And then it will show you.
Okay, all right. And I see. No, I feel much braver now. All right, thank you. Because this is the first time I'm doing this. And it's going to ask me for that. And I see it and I'm good. Because I did it last night on my own. And I was like, boy, if I go touch this now, I mess up. So here we go.
You're going to put it on the ball, Lord, and you say your hip no, we're not going to whine with that, this a dinky minute. No worry, we're not going to whine with that. You don't have to whine. So you use the right foot, put your foot on the ball, and just kick out like a donkey, so. All right? That's the basic step. So you're going to start with the pulse, and you just add the kick. So you learn basic dinky already. Easy as that. See everybody I say, oh, Eureka! You could have come up here and dance too. The next step is a forward and back motion. So same thing, but you're just going forward and back, all right? And if you really think like you reach level 3 dinky mini, you go around and around. That's at the advanced stage. Now do it if you're not ready fit, you know. Because you got taunted. So for those in the audience who don't know, go just sit down out there and laugh after them. Me go teach you a song and we'll go sing while them a dance, all right? So you're going to repeat after me. You're going to hear what the singers sing. Tell me which month they go learn for car. Tell me which month they go learn for car. I don't know if you sing what me sing, Lord Jesus. Let us try again. Follow directions, students. Tell me which month they go learn for car. Tell me which month they go learn for car. That's what you're going to sing. And every time I sing something new, you're going to sing after me. For those that don't understand, because I know I have some Upper St. Andrew people in here, we're saying, tell me which month the goat has learned to call, all right? But I don't want to spoil up the culture, especially by Independence Day. So I want to know if you sing it on our best pot word, okay? All right, Uptown St. Andrews? Yes, sir. All right, Mr. Music Man, you ready? So no members, so not gonna dance, so start. Remember the basic step. Give me a little more volume there. Hey! Tell me which month the goat learn for car. Tell me which month the goat learn for car. I said tell me which month the goat learn for car. Tell me which month the goat learn for car. I said January, February, March, April, May. You don't get it now? So now we want you to sing with me, man. Come on. Dinky, 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 dinky. Tell me which month the goat learn for car. Tell me which month the goat learn for car. I said tell me which month the goat learn for car. Which month the goat learn for car. I said January, February, March, April, May. Come on, yes, auntie. Tell me which month we can't speak the truth. Tell me which month we can't speak the truth. I said tell me which month we can't speak the truth. Tell me which month we can't speak the truth. I said January, February, March, April, May, June, July. Tell me which month we can't speak the truth. Tell me which month we can't speak the truth. I said tell me which month we can't speak the truth. Tell me which month we can't speak the truth. I said January, February, March, April, May, June, July. Auntie, carry on, give her a hand. Come on, clap and sing with us. Get up on your feet. Tell me which month the goat learn to car. Tell me which month the goat learn to car. Tell me which month the the donkey can call? Tell me which month the donkey can call? It's a January, February, March, April, May, June, July. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, so we go back to our regular schedule of programming. Give me 1 second, let me find my way back. Let me find my way back. Good, I found my way back. Okay, so with that, shucks, where did it go? Oh, all right. So with that, we now welcome Mr. Andrew Braata Clarke to our Under the Spotlight live programming. Sir, welcome.
Good evening, Stafford. How are you doing? Thank you for having me.
Good. Mm-hmm. And I'm really grateful and thank you. You're a person from the first day I met you, you're always willing to give, participate, and I've watched you grown over the years. So without a doubt, I think you're being blessed for some of your goodness in your heart. Mm-hmm. And because the first time I saw you was somewhere in Brooklyn. You performed for somebody. I'm trying to remember her name now. I should know the lady's name, but it's slipping me right now. You did a thing, I think it was at Long Island University. I don't know if you remember it, in the lobby. Mm-hmm. And it's not a very large lobby, but it was a nice little function. And I was impressed when I saw you. It reminded me of a young, what's his name, Rex Delaford. You know, the way you express yourself. And, I asked you if you'd want to come and do something for me. I was having a function maybe the week or two after that, and you agreed, not knowing me, never met you before. And it also that went well. And I just now when I call on you, because you have grown now, you're not so much that little baby in the business when I first met you. You're pretty much in a maybe adulthood thing in the development stage. And I asked you, and you just without a doubt, without any question, you said, sure, yes. And I like that about you. And I think I'm telling you that you're going to go far for that kind of spirit that you have. I've asked others, and maybe they're too big for this type of thing, but I think people still, people appreciate this when they can, come face to face with some of the people they see in the media and so forth. So with that, I would just like to again say welcome. And I like to ask people when I invite and I have guests, kind of tell us a little bit about yourself. Were you born in Jamaica? Where did you grow up in Jamaica? Going to school as much as you can, and how you ended up. I know you're mostly in the United States. Right now you're in Jamaica, I think you said, because I think you might have gone home for the holidays. Just tell us as much as you can about yourself.
So I'm from Montego Bay, born and bred, born in a community called Salt Spring. And I grew up spent some years in Westgate Hills, was boarding with the principal of my prep school, Unity Prep. She was also the minister of Unity Faith Center. And so I spent my adolescence with her and then went to live with my dad again in Ironshore. My father, Oswald Clarke, is a landscaper, cleans pools, and that's what he's always done for a living. Then I moved to the US, spent some time in Miami, and I now live in New York City. And that's when I started Braata Productions.
Mm-hmm. And Braata Production, when you started, you were doing mainly doing these dances and these Jamaican folk songs. But I've seen you in a much bigger role than just the folk singers type of thing. I've seen you producing plays. Tell us some things about how did you get started with producing plays?
So it's interesting. It's actually the reverse. Because I graduated from Edna Manley School of Drama, and so I moved to New York with the intention of making it on Broadway, and then you recognize the reality of being in that space. Not only do you have to be able to sing, dance, act, and play an instrument, but you have to be able to read sheet music excuse me, and you know, juggle balls and blow fire. You know, it's like you gotta be a triple threat and some. It's not just being able, not it's not just about being talented. And then you have to be unionized, you have to be an equity actor, you have to have an agent in an ideal world so that you can get into these auditions. Because oftentimes, as a non-union actor, you can easily join the line for an audition at 5 a.m. in the morning and at 5 p.m. And mind you, that audition doesn't start accepting auditions until 9 o'clock. So you're joining the line at 5 p.m. in hopes to get on the list, on a good spot on the list. And at 5 p.m., you may not be seen that whole day because you're non-union. If you're union and you have an agent, that moves you along the queue a little bit better because your agent would have got you an actual time slot, so you're guaranteed of being seen. And then, you know, the reality as well of having a Jamaican accent. And it's one thing to say you can twang, is a whole other thing to be able to sound authentically American. And quite frankly, that's what the vast majority of the roles that are being cast for Broadway are authentic American characters. So that was also a challenge. So multi-pronged challenges, the reality of that hit home. And so I decided to create an alternative to that, as for actors like myself who are in transition of sort, that we wanted the opportunity to perform on the Great White Way and see our name in lights, but we hadn't quite, you know, acquired all the checks that would get us in the room. And so Braata was birthed. So we started with producing readings, play reading series, and those readings became full productions. And then a few months after our first reading, we started the Braata Folk Singers. I've always had a love for folk culture and Miss Lou ever since I was a child. It's funny because in Westgate Hills, where I grew up, you know, middle class family, Reverend Davis, you always had to speak proper English and use your knife and fork. And I remember we never used to watch Jamaican TV, so I never saw Ring Ding. I'd never gone to see the pantomime. I think my introduction to Jamaican culture, and certainly Miss Lou, was through the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission's Festival of Performing Arts that I got involved in my first year at Cornell College. And I'm really thankful for that, because then I got introduced to Miss Lou. You know, you'd go to festival and you hear everybody perform the roast turkey, and I mean, just anything from the Miss Lou catalog, everybody was always reaching for. And then being introduced to the work of Joan Andrea Hutchinson and really falling in love with our culture. I always wanted to be a part of a folk group. In Montego Bay, there weren't many opportunities. When I went to Kingston for a very short time, I was with Nexus Performing Arts Company. And then when I moved to Florida, the opportunities did not present themselves. I mean, Florida is pretty spaced out, you know, so the opportunities for being in the arts are very few and far between. So New York presented an opportune space for that to happen. When I started the group, though, the folk singers in particular, I wondered why we had so many Jamaicans in New York City and we never have a folk group. Why we never have a cultural group? Now, 13 years later, I understand why, you know, because culture is not seen as very sexy. You know, we talk a good game about culture, but it's more about pulling together a motley crew of people when festival time come around. And it's my firm belief that our culture deserves more than that. It deserves more than observation, the week of independence, emancipation to independence, and we probably pull together some people for Heroes Weekend. We should celebrate our traditional culture all year round, and so that's why Braata Productions as an outfit was created, with the folk singers being one of the programs. And then since then, we've started to produce festivals as well. So there's Banker Caribbean Culture Festival, again with the intention of centering traditional culture, because we're not short of the celebration of Jamaican culture in New York. There is a festival almost every month in the summer, but there is so much focus on contemporary culture that we've forgotten the celebration of the foundation of our culture. You know, we think about how rich traditional culture is, and I mean, I can speak to this much more articulately than I can, but almost every parish has a traditional folk form, you know, from Buru to Etu, Maroon Songs, Dinky Mini, Brookins, Jean Kuno, Revival, Kumina. I mean, the list goes on. And for us, for such a small country like Jamaica to have such a rich traditional culture, I'm talking about it now. I mean, I get goosebumps because that's exciting, you know, and we want to celebrate and center those things. And so that's why Braata has kind of stood in the gap to be like the standard bearers, the flag bearers for traditional culture for Jamaica.
Yeah, because most of the times we usually have to wait for a group to come up from Jamaica, you know, thing. But you guys are right here, and there are times of the year or any year that people, except for now with this COVID craziness, when people just want to go out in springtime, when you after you have suffered cabin fever, locked away in the winter, deep winter, here comes spring. You are so excited to see a play or some kind of show Jamaican show being put on. So, and that's why when you made that choice, that decision, it was a very brilliant thought that came to you. Maybe some body in your lineage who is still with you, you know, watching over you and guiding you. So let me just go back a little bit to. There's somebody who joined. I'm not sure if this is David. I see a Jean Shim, and maybe she wants to, whoever the person is. Can you identify who you are? Give me what. Let me clear this up first. Jean, or is it David sitting in for? Oh, I think yes, Jean.
Jean, yeah, this is Jean.
Yes.
You want to know who I am?
Yes.
Oh, I was invited by Narda Morant.
Oh, and, the second person saying that they were invited by Narda Morant. Now, I don't mind if you stay, but you know, it's a selected group of people that are doing their thing here this evening. Are you a poet in any way?
No, I actually I'm also a member of the Montego Bay High Alumni Association. Andrew has performed for us before.
Excellent.
And so when I saw the list, I decided to come in. Now, if it is a problem, I can leave.
No, you do. I mean, as long as you promise to mute and stay silent. So, because before that, there was a little bit of noise. So I'm happy to have you. Just give us, you know, the chance to work through this. And then, but, you know, I love seeing your face on the screen, by the way, so you can stay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, so Andrew, back to what we were saying. Before I do that, let me just acknowledge some people, because again, I'm bad with this. And there are quite a few people who are, you know, there and commenting. I see a Nelma Edwards, Madge Sue Lazarus, Milverton Newell, one of my faithful followers, and it's Nelima Edwards, and a bunch of other people once I find a way to get them, because there are at least somewhere in about 15 or so, 20 people presently showing. Yeah. And as the program progresses, it grows. All right. So with that, Andrew, you stepped away again. Okay. So with that, we want to just go back again to that time when you, I understand when you're, you know, because I went through some of that kind of stuff myself. When you think you would be a journalist and you come and you break it, you know, I get a chance to taste a little bit of it in the news, in Newsday. But by then, the whole journalism business was falling apart and they were laying off people like crazy. So all of that just went by the way and never happened again. But so tell us, so what kind of, did you confront any situation where you think this should be mine and somebody just told you some crazy story and you had to just, as I said, put your tail between your legs and walk away? What happened? Anything in particular?
This should be mine in terms of what?
In terms of, you know, how you show up for you say you got your audition, and you think you did well. Is there any one thing that stands out as I went to this one or that one and this is what happened?
For me, saying that this should be mine, absolutely. There are a few Jamaican characters that I auditioned for. One remains etched in my mind. It was a play about young people. So we were all playing kids, and I auditioned for this role. It distinctly said a Jamaican role. Never got it. And I said I'm gonna buy a ticket to go watch the show because I'm like, I'd be intrigued to see who they actually cast. When the producer called back, they said, we really loved you, but you were a little too old for the role. So we went with somebody younger. I said, okay, fine. When I went to watch the show, the brother couldn't talk Jamaican. He wasn't speaking Jamaican. He was clearly an American doing what sounded in their mind, into their ear, as a Jamaican accent, another bastardized representation of our mother tongue. So, you know, that was no surprise. And you find that happen often in the performing arts space. You know, it's one thing to, they will not, you're less likely as a non-native speaking, non-native American speaker to get cast in an American role than the reverse to happen. They will more quickly cast an American actor to do what they think is a Jamaican accent, you know, than a talented Jamaican sounding actor who may not sound as authentically American to play an American role, which I think is sad, but it speaks to the who is in control, you know. And oftentimes they're not concerned with authenticity. They're not concerned with accuracy. There is it's a very broad brush, you know, so all Caribbean people sound the same. You know, them just go for a Caribbean accent, which when you think about it, you especially for us as Caribbean people who pride ourselves in the uniqueness of our own cultures, we know that Jamaicans and Trinidadians do not sound the same, and we don't sound like Haitians. St. Lucians sound, you know, we all have a different regional sound, and, you know, you want to play authentically to that. You want to honor that, but, you know, people in the producing spaces are less concerned with that. So, yeah, man, I've been in some situations where I'm like, yeah, I could have played that role in my sleep, but they're not concerned with actually casting a Jamaican. It's almost like they're saying you're too Jamaican to play a Jamaican.
Exactly. And it, you know, it brings to mind plays like Miss Saigon, and when they, instead of using an Asian person, you know, they bring in who they want to bring, who look more like who they want a person to be. And there's always a quarrel, even I think it's Harriet Tubman when they brought somebody from England to play an American, you know, that. So I don't know what is the logic behind these things, but I know exactly what you're talking about. So, so what is your biggest breakthrough to date?
The biggest breakthrough in terms of my solo career or in terms of Braata? Because those are, I think Braata is
big, but in terms of a role you might have capped, or, you know, is there anything, because Braata, you shouldn't leave that one out, because that is, to me, it's big. You know, people are looking for a Jamaican cultural thing. It's going to be you. You're a go-to guy. But in terms of...
I'm trying to think there. So it's interesting. The time I've spent building Braata over the last 13 years has meant that Andrew has focused a lot less on his own career. You know, for maybe the first 5 or 6 years when I would produce shows, whether it was Christmas Grand Market, Bankra, Carry Bites, or even a play, I never sang as a soloist. People did not know I was classically trained and could sing. It's in the last few years that I've actually gone on stage, because it's truly is taxing to try to be a performer and also produce, you know, a show with limited staff capacity. So I've auditioned very little in the mainstream American space. I've been content with building our own version of Braata, version of Broadway in Braata. But there was a particular play that, gosh, I can't remember the name of the production now, but it was set in the Andes. And I sang in Quechuan, which is the native tongue of
like Peru or what else?
Yes, in the Andes mountains. And I played a father, and I never spoke a line in the show. I literally just sang in their native tongue. And that for me was special, because I was a Jamaican vocalist, you know, playing this and singing in this accent with these words that I had to do my research. And I made sure much like I would expect someone that's not Jamaican to do their research and honor whatever they're representing as authentically as they can, I try to do the same. And that was really one of my more memorable roles. We ended up getting reviewed in the New York Times, and that is like almost the pinnacle of any thespian, you know, being reviewed by the New York Times is the cat's meow. So that I think was one of my more notable roles.
All right. So because we were given only 30 minutes to take with other things in that 30 minutes, we have to kind of pull it to an end. But I'd like for you to kind of say to those behind you or those who are coming in your foot, you know, in the business, any like words to them, what they should do to survive in this?
Gosh, I mean, it's tough really to say it all in a few words because there are so many elements to the business. But if I were to think right off the cuff, training is really important. Spend time working on your craft, whatever that means, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to, you know, get a bachelor's or get a master's in acting, voice, music, a dance, whatever area of the arts. But spend some time training because having natural talent only can get you so far. There's a lot to be said with with spending time to hone that craft. And then also learn the business side of the business because as artisans, as artists, we have to be always prepared not only to be standing in an audition line, but also to create work for ourselves. And that is a whole other set of skills that we oftentimes don't deliver. We don't oftentimes don't develop, I should say. You know, my time at Edna Manley or even at Brooklyn College never prepared me to be an arts administrator. I would have loved to have been able to sit in a class that taught us about budgeting and the importance of existing in the nonprofit space. So yeah, definitely take some business classes because even if you plan to be a full-time artist, you have to still treat it as a business.
Mm-hmm. I want to say thank you, sir, for coming on, and I hopefully can get you to come on again on your own because I see you're good enough for a whole show of your own. And but just to at least give us a little taste of who you are, what you do, and to you know, people can always be watching because I'm pretty sure somebody like the young lady, Miss Washington, who was, you know, a big superstar, or when Madge Sinclair was before she moved on, you know, they must have traveled some tough roads like you. So maybe pretty soon your break will come that you'll see you on that big, as I said, a big silver screen. All right, so good luck. I just want to say to the people that we have been talking with Mr. Andrew, quote unquote, Braata Clarke, Jamaican actor, producer, playwright, singer, folklorist. And so hopefully the next time we get to, you know, kind of expand on some more of those other, the folklorist part side of it. And so I hope Miss Amina Blackwood Meeks I know she's kind of paused herself. Yes. So, and there's somebody who should be coming on. Thank you, Andrew. All right.
Man, thank you for having me. Stafford.
You can stick around. We'd be happy to have you stick around. In case there's any question you have for Amina, please let us know. I am going to try my trick again and Andrew help me out to get there. And I'm going to do a little bit of Miss Amina. I really like this, but I didn't want to make it go too far. Here is it. Come on.
When somebody die in Cayman, what do they do? And she said nothing. Them just bury them. Well, in Jamaica, we don't just bury people, sir, you see? When somebody dead, you have a party. You have a setup. You have a wake. You have to make chocolate tea. You have to fry dumpling. No mind what you call it that, we call it dumpling. Right? And after all the food, you have to have some serious kind of music with some serious lyrics. Like, Kuma famati belle, Kuma famati belle, Kuma famati belle, Kuma famati belle. Mati belly is a guava jelly, Kuma famati belle. Mati belly just a go and come down, Kuma famati belle. And not just the singing, and what them a do? You have to lap your two knees together like this, right? But the two knees now. I have to shake up this and move across the way at the same time. Kuma famati belle, Kuma famati belle, Kuma famati belle, Kuma famati belle. And that is supposed to be a ceremony bidding farewell to the dead. And when that see them, Kuma famati belle, Kuma famati belle, and them calling it dinky mini. So when somebody dead, you have a dinky mini. What you have? Now Jamaicans are also very proper people. Because if your mother ever catch you, both your dinky mini, and nobody no dead, you're in a serious trouble. And her favorite threat would be if I see that again, I put your head on the ground. And you would say to her, after me I no crab. You know say crab no have no head? You ever see crab with a head? Answer me, man, don't just sit there and laugh. Have you ever seen crab with a head? All right then. You want to know why crabs don't have no head? Once upon a time, Crab Father was the chief head maker in the village. Any kind of head you want, Crab Father would have make it. He make head with grey hair like Henry Mutu. He make blonde hair like yours. Me goodly sir, he make a head like me and you one. Crab Father would have make head for the United States given the chance.
All right, so let me get this out of the way and then get to this. All right, good, we found our way back. That is progress. I can find my way back. All right, so our next up is Miss Amina Blackwood Meeks. I tell you, I was cracking up through that thing when I saw it. I didn't even know it was picking up my laughter when I cackling like with that thing. So anyway, we are with us. We are Grace. We feel blessed to have this lady on with us, Miss Amina Blackwood Meeks, and she is one of the senior ones now in the game. You know, all the other senior people have moved out of the way, some staying home in their rocking chairs, and some have left us totally and become, as we say, spirits, our guiding forces out there. And so with that, we want to say, under the spotlight with your host, Stafford Perkins, welcome Mrs. Amina Blackwood Meeks to Under the Spotlight. Welcome, man.
Give thanks. That's amazing. As you can see me here, grow back.
yeah. That no wonder about too.
That's amazing. I don't know where you found that, but believe you me, I enjoyed it. But before you talk about me, though, I just want to raise my head tie because I don't have on any hat. Mm-hmm. I want to raise my head tie to Andrew. He's a tremendous young man.
Yes.
And really, you ought to bring him back for a full discussion.
Full program, yes.
Maybe a round table discussion.
Yes, including yourself, for sure, yeah.
About what it means to make it big, because making it big don't always mean being on the big screen.
Yes.
It don't always mean that.
Yes.
Although we wanted to mean that. But his insight about the nexus between the performing arts and the management of the performing arts.
Yes.
So he's talking to us about the business of it. Yes. Because some of us and enough people still think it's a little joke. It's something we don't see head people do. When them don't have nothing else to do, them try a thing and say them is a singer or a dancer or a festival organizer. And a year ago, I attended a seminar on the creative industries put on by the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment, and Sport. The festival industry, not the entire cultural and creative industries, the festival industry in Jamaica alone is $193 billion a year.
Wow.
And when they called the number, I said, you mean million? You must be mad. That must be 4 festival. Billion. And it goes in all kinds of directions. People who make the costumes, so that seamstresses and tailors, people who build the set, so that carpenters, people who develop your flyers, so graphic artists, is a whole tremendous industry that could power the economy. So when we say what does it mean to make it big, is a big discussion, and Andrew's insight in the little time he was able to give us that insight about how you are exploited from inside. How they mean to give somebody your role and them can even turn to Jamaican phrase, and all of that is worthy of discussion so that we can continue to build the industry. So enough love to Andrew and enough respects to you, Stafford, for opening up this discussion.
I'm telling you, and it was just an experiment, and I'm liking what I'm hearing and seeing and how I'm feeling about it. So definitely, because I'll tell you something. Last week, and I don't mean to throw this person under the bus because it was a last minute thing that I called on her. But as you were speaking, I said, you know what, in that roundtable discussion, she has to be there, hopefully, if we bring it off. That is the lady, Minister Babsy Grange. Last week, I wanted to bring her on just before Christmas because I wanted her to talk about how she would be handling, the whole thing with COVID and grand markets and all this, because that's something special about Jamaica also. But unfortunately, she had told me it was her time to prepare. She was preparing for the, what do you call it here? She was preparing for a constituency, what the giveaways for Christmas. She was doing a treat for the Christmas. And so obviously she tried to make it happen. I know she said she would pass on to her assistant, but maybe she didn't get a chance to do it. And so hopefully if we get to that point that we can do this roundtable, we would love to have her on. And then I'd set it for maybe like 2 hours, because 1 hour and 90 minutes, I don't think is enough, because I'd actually said I would keep Andrew for 30 minutes, but it went over, as you might have realized. And I couldn't do anything, to cut it back or anything, because he has so much to say. Yeah. So with that, welcome again. What I like to do, because I guess Andrew grabbed you as much as he grabbed me when I first saw him, and even now when I listen to him and everything, I just see he's no matter what, I think he's destined for great things. Even if it means he's going to produce something of his own and it becomes a hit, or so. He's the kind of person that, sends out that kind of vibration to say, I'm here to do something. And I think he's going to do well.
He's doing it. He's doing it, Stafford.
Yes.
He's doing it.
And so what I want to do is come back to you now, because you're just another, a whole other universe. So what I want to hear from you now, where you started, where you're born in, I know you're not a Kingston woman, so am I wrong on that? Or you're
not wrong, but you're not wrong.
Anyway,
I was born and raised in Kingston.
Yeah.
By parents who came from the country and who raised us as if they were still in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So when I tell people that me never know my grandparents, they don't believe me.
Mm-hmm.
Because my parents spoke about their parents and spoke with the voice of their parents so often that sometimes I hear my grandmother, who I never met, coming out of me.
Well, we're getting it, but I don't like to do this, but I'll have to do it. When you're talking that, what you're saying is when I'm pouring libation to the spirits, because the spirits still, the spirits passes down through generations, and that is what happened to you. Please continue.
Yes. And so they raised me so much like a country girl that Christopher can tell you about my place up in a St. Mary. Me no like Kingston. It's too noisy. The houses are too close together. So 2002, that's what, 19 years ago, me get sensible. And I tell everybody, me move from Kingston and go live in Jamaica. Me go live in a St. Mary. A mile and a half from the nearest house in any direction. NWC can't find me. So me have my one water. Me cannot afford JPS. So me have my little solar system. I am a country person at heart. And I say that knowing that it's not even me talking. Knowing say I must have the spirits tell me say, I guess I'm if I go live.
Exactly.
Because living in St. Mary raised me in a different way. You see, the first day I come out of my house and I walk into my yard, as we say in Jamaica, with my two long hands, and I go back inside with my basket full and I cook my one at dinner, and I know say I made it, plant it. A revelation. A revelation about how everything that we are comes out of the dirt. This beautiful dress I'm wearing come out of the dirt. Everything, the computer, the phone, the everything. Exactly. We are people of the earth. And so that confers on us a special responsibility about how we relate to the earth, how we talk about it, how we treat it, and so on and so on and so forth, how we understand climate change, our climate derange, our climate rearrange, climate exploitation, and therefore our responsibility to that. Exactly. So that's who I am.
Right. But I'm still not letting you off the hook to talk about from little girl days, badness, goodness, to going high was school, because I heard you tell a story about going to it didn't make sense.
I was a good child. I was a good child. I wasn't a bad child. My mother would say that I'm the child she wouldn't worry about. I would talk to myself. I would have conversations with myself. I would entertain myself. And if she have one slice of hard-boiled bread and a cup of cornmeal porridge, she knows me I go satisfy. But what you raise about being a bad child, we can talk about how the middle class people who couldn't rock them hip for Andrew, you know, when them buck up me and Andrew, they don't know what to do with us. So I have them don't know. I have a similar experience like Andrew. You know, I went to a school that taught us how to eat open-faced cucumber sandwiches. Yes. They had tea parties for fundraisers. So I learned how to remove my tea bag from the cup. Hallelujah!
Are you sure you didn't get Miss Lou's spirit?
Also introduced us to the arts. We had an elocution competition, Andrew, where a middle-class Jamaican win me over a Miss Lou poem up to a day like today, me vex. Because I knew what it was. When you're too authentic, it scares them. When you're putting on the Ritz, when it's okay. And even Miss Lou got that treatment.
Yes.
That at Miss Lou's funeral, there were sensible Jamaicans, not one, not two, almost all of them who spoke, who said, but you know, Miss Lou knew better. Miss Lou knew better than what? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So yeah, they don't know what to do with us. They don't understand the resources that we are, because we are so afraid of who we are. A friend of mine and I were discussing the ways in which our fear of self manifests. And him say, you know, so that's why we're afraid of Janko, no?
Exactly.
We're afraid of Janko, no, because it's too African.
Exactly.
That's why we not like a Nancy, him too little and too black and too clever.
Exactly. True. No, you're talking some serious thing.
People like me and Andrew don't have that kind of fear. Yes. Somebody has to point it out that the fear exists. It's not inside of me. And so when you dare to be yourself,
exactly.
I mean, before we came on air, you spoke about my clothes that I'm wearing. And I have a story I wrote about my father. That my father turned up. Okay, the school I went to, I'm not gonna call him name now, because although sometimes I am critical of them, if I had a daughter, that's the school I would send her to. Because that school, they raise us to be leaders and to be.
Call the school, man. Yeah, call you the school.
Snandrew. I went to Snandrew High School.
Okay, that's cool. Don't be afraid to say it, because when the thing is bad, we will say the bad thing. But it's good. Jamaica has some of the best schools in the world.
I'm telling you, man. Yeah. And that school there, you see, had some steps that the students were not supposed to use. Only the teachers can use them. And one such step was the step that leads to the principal's office. And one day, the principal sent for me. So I walk around the back step where students must walk. And she let me in. And when me go in now, everywhere lock up and look like one dungeon. And she carry me up to the window. And she barely crack it. And she said, come here to me, child, and tell me if you know that man. The man we're in at the schoolyard, we say him come to me. She no expect say no man will look like that. Supposed to come to anybody after school. So she cracked the window and me look through. And when me look through, me see my father and I'm full revival regalia. Me say, I'm my father. And me push the door and me run down the holy steps. Me remember it like it's yesterday. Me run down the holy steps that I was not. Guess what had happened? School was having a concert.
Yes.
And when the school has, I don't know about now, but in those days, when the school has a concert, you can wear your uniform and you bring the clothes you go and wear to the concert. Yeah. And if you choose, you can go to your in your uniform. Well, my mother did make a special frock for me and I forgot it on the bed. I would happily have gone to the concert in my uniform. My father decides, no, go so. Everybody I got dress up. Me if it dress up too. I'm a father who never own a car. Dress up and beg a ride and brought my dress to school, and it frightened the principal. It frightened the principal. So it's not us who have the fear of who we are. And my parents didn't teach us to be afraid or to be ashamed. This was just who we were. Any fear or shame that I would have learned, I learned it outside of my house. I learned it somewhere else, not in my house, where my parents told us stories on a regular basis. We're raised on stories. But you see, Friday night, my parents used to sell peanut. Back in the days, peanut never have no label named Planters. Them save up jam buckle. And them go, you know that.
Yeah, man. From the same way.
Yes. And then parch the peanut with the salt and the butter on a Friday night. And we buckle it. Because them are going to sell it on Saturday. That's our money for the next week. And while they, and all of us had to participate. I have 2 sisters and 2 brothers. I'm the firstborn. When I was little, I used to say I'm the oldest. Now that I know better, I'm not the oldest. I'm the firstborn. And all of us had to participate.
Yes.
And we heard the best stories.
Exactly.
We heard Nancy stories. We heard Bible stories. My father My father's father was a Maroon, so I don't know why I don't say I'm a Maroon too. I'm going to figure that out one day. My father loved Paul Bogle. My father loved Sam Sharp. Long before I knew who they were, my father was talking about them. My parents used to go to Edelweiss Park on a Sunday and dance at the concerts put on by Marcus Garvey. So those were the stories I was hearing in my house. The only time it seemed that we turned on the radio was to hear the Lou and Ronnie show. And Ronnie had come after Liza with the flatboard. Me never know, say me wasn't supposed to talk, so. Me think that everybody in the whole world did tell story and talk like this. Much later.
Yes.
I was to realize that Miss Lou came under a whole heap of fire. Because she dared to speak this way on the radio. And much later, I was to discover that people like the late John Maxwell, who was programs manager at JBC at the time, protected Louise and collected and ferreted away all of the vitriolic letters that used to come in about her. So it wouldn't kill her spirit, you know? And yeah, so when Andrew said him discover Louise and him discover the poetry of Joan Andrea, that's also an enlightenment for me. I know that many persons come to it like this, and I am grateful and thankful for people such as those, as much as I'm thankful for myself. But there are other people like me who this is always who we was, and so we parents grow. So when I was little, I didn't look at Louise with reverence. He was just a family member. Now that she has formed part of my research and I came to know her and I came to be able to have lemonade with her and not eat our pudding up a garden town, now in retrospect, I can say, wow, she was a hero.
Yes.
She was a hero of the language and the culture. And I can look at her with awe. And by the way, I had the privilege of being the last person to interview her. And I had the privilege of being one of 6 people who were selected to go to the airport to receive her body when it came back to Jamaica. And so all of that has caused her to grow on me. But it wasn't because she was a top Jamaican. That's all I heard down in Whitfield Town, where I was born and raised. Now I understand what it is that Louise Bennett was doing.
Yeah. Just to say, when you talk about with Miss Lou especially, how the Jamaican, those in charge who run the society, how they treated her, you know, as if it was some kind of novelty, you know, it wasn't real. And even when you talk about a Bob Marley and all of these great, you know, Peter Tosh, Bonnie Whaler, they've never been given the kind of honor and respect that is due to them. I'll tell you, when I was away for a while out of Jamaica, and I've been out for forever now. When I returned back in the 80s, like 80, 81, somewhere around there, and I decided, you know, I'm a Garveyite, you know, I'm an African conscious person. I know myself. So I came home and I was going to, you know, promote Garvey, you know, because this great man has not, they happen to say he's a national hero. He was probably just thrown in there to appease the Rastas at the time or the Black conscious people. But I made to some people, it's like a mistake, but it's not a mistake because I can talk about it now, that when I produced the first program with Marcus Garvey, now you can hear what he's saying even clearer now because they have enhanced it doing with electronic things and make it so you can hear him. But it was a scratchy little sound. But when I played it, it freaked out some people. And I'm saying to myself, how is it? I'm not going to say who it freaked out, but it was like, oh, I can hear this one saying this. I said, but the man is a national hero. What is this? So, you know, why I think a lot of the young people are become so destructive is because they've been taught to hate themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And until we change that narrative where we start celebrating all the great people, not just somebody who makes a bunch of money by ripping off the system, but for the people who have been contributing, like yourself and Louise Bennett and Ronnie Williams and all of the great, theater people, we're going to be in this trouble. We have not seen
what I
like
think also, Stafford, in addition to that, I think that there is a way in which I recognize, maybe Christopher shares this view, maybe Andrew as well, I don't know. But I recognize the work of the people you have named as a spiritual unfolding, which is different from entertainment, as much as it is entertaining. And I think when we reach the point of recognizing the power of this kind of spirituality, for unifying us, for bringing us together, for healing us. When I look at the Anansi stories, for example, and I have been saying, and I'm not saying it half jokingly, I'm very serious, that our Anansi stories represent both source and resource for personal and national development. When I look at the Anansi stories, I see the Millennium Development Goals. I see the Sustainable Development Goals. I see the way we should treat our senior citizens. I see entrepreneurship. I see all the elements of what we loosely call attitudes and values, that if we would take the culture out of a corner, when we have like Christmas, our independence, our Emancipation Heritage Week, then the TV station then put on a little culture corner, like in punishment. All them leave you don't know is to put on a dunce cap on it.
Yes.
Once we take it out of the corner, then we release it for the full potential of what it has and what it means for us as a people.
As a matter of fact, if somebody who is in charge would see the value in it and go out to collect royalties that are due to Jamaican artists, we probably could pay off any debt, that the monies that are owed to us to Jamaica, even just the use of the music for doing whatever they want to do. They try to change things up. And even this big, whatever they call them now, the Meta, usually called Facebook, change Meta. If you listen to the promotion for the new entity, that is the new name, because really the same thing, but it's a Jamaican music they use to promote that thing, because there's the vibe that comes out of this country, out of these people named Jamaicans. One day we will discuss the maroon thing. Don't feel badly about, claiming this maroon, because maroons are not, they were never a race of people or a tribe or anything. These are, as I said, maroon people who have run away into the hills, and they have a problem in their history that they sold out Paul Bogle.
No, I'm not feeling badly. It's a self-criticism.
Yeah.
I must be what my father was.
Yeah.
And if my father claimed his maroon heritage, I must stop saying my father was.
No, it's not like that. It's to say that you are who you are. So you don't have to want to be that other or the other name, because who knows who gave them the name. You understand? Sometimes it's not the people who gave themselves these names. It's the massa who gave them the name.
No, man, I understand that fully, my brother. I mean, in terms of consciousness, in terms of an identity, in terms of the potential, in terms of the spirit.
Yes.
3 years ago, I completed my family tree.
Yes.
As far back as 1805.
Yes.
And when I was able to do that, I felt like a human being. I could mark my footsteps. And the only reason I haven't gone back beyond that is because I now need to get the ship's record. I know where the ship docked in Malta Bay. I know the name of the ship, the Daniel. I know it's there, Hagar came off. I know she went to Friendship Estate. I know she meet Archibald. And Archibald did name Blackwood. And them change her name to Jane Geohegan. And you might know her as the woman who fling the first stone down a St. Thomas. I know all of that. And I know that when Archibald Blackwood said him want to marry her, and I'm going to marry Jane Geohegan, she said, you will marry me as Hagar or not at all. I know all of that. And I'm saying that not calling myself a maroon like my father is in a way negating it.
No, it's absolutely, you should claim it. But just to say that where you are and the fact that you trace it back to that ship, you can do the genealogy test and it will tell you exactly which tribe you belong to.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
That would bring
absolutely.
That would make the circle for you, the closer circle for you.
So when you ask me about becoming a storyteller,
yes,
then that's part of my journey, because people will tell you, Andrew will certainly tell you, that being a singer is not about having a beautiful voice. Being a dancer is not about knowing the latest moves. Being a storyteller is not about having a beautiful voice and can go up on stage and dress up pretty in a Jamaican color. You must have content.
True.
What is the content?
True.
What is the story that you're telling through your storytelling, through your music, through your dance? What is the story? And we have this story to tell, we the Jamaican people. You spoke about who we are. Let me tell you, every day I am amazed when I get to know Jamaica and Jamaicans better. Every day I am amazed at the power and the complexity of who we are. We're not ordinary, you know. Which part we come from?
Let me say this.
Which part?
Listen, let me say this.
We come from?
Listen, let me tell you this. We sometimes use a term, they brought slaves from Africa. They didn't bring any slaves from Africa.
No.
They kidnapped Africans, dragged them in some rinky-dinky little boats, stuffed them down like, packed together like sardine. You're coming from different tribes. And so, right, you could be coming from a tribe where you were at war just yesterday. And so there's a lot of hatred that started from there. Then they brought us and they enslaved us. So they kidnapped us first. And this is a crime against humanity, which we need to take up with the United Nations one day. And then you have, along with kidnapping, which is a serious crime, that's what they users like to use this term about slave, you come as slave. They kidnapped us, brought us. Now, a lot of these people were kings, queens, teachers, lawyers, doctors,
architects, doctors,
engineers,
philosophers, mathematicians.
Everything. Mathematicians. Sometimes you read the history of them, they run into a guy who came from the Senegal. This guy could calculate anything. The man, they had a problem in building Washington, D.C. The man who finished it, took it and finished it, was an Ethiopian. You understand? So these are what we need to understand about ourselves. The gene, it doesn't go away. It's there. That's why the latent thing that you'll see a kid just come up out of nowhere and he's doing some ridiculous things at age 8 and 9. He or she, I shouldn't say he, because we have seen with girls too. That these things are laying dormant, and then something wakes it up. Because again, it's a spirit, it's a gene, what we call the gene, but it's the spirit, it's us, it's who we are, where we came from, the lineage. And so that sort of addresses when you say that we are a great people. We are, because we were not, we were the ones they couldn't break. Jamaicans, they couldn't break us. And when they can't break you, they send you to Jamaica. We are like the penal, where they consider their thing, the penal island. And there's another place they used to use Guyana to do some crazy thing with them to break them. So when they can't break you, they bring you to Jamaica. But that's for another time. So, so over the years, you've been in Jamaica and you've been through all the crazy ups and downs, or the way people see the culture and the way they might treat you. How has it changed in more recent times? Is it now being more accepting? Or do you still have to struggle through to it?
I do not know. The cultural and creative industries have had to fight to be recognized. I lived outside of Jamaica for a while. And when I came back to Jamaica in 1997, there was not a mention of culture in the national development plans.
Yes.
And then there was a struggle. And then I remember when a national plan had one sentence. And then I remember when a national plan had a whole paragraph, then a whole chapter. And now Vision 2030 is a whole pillar. And the pillar is about an authentic and transformative culture. So over the years, because of the work which has been done, and I am part of the relay, and you mentioned Miss Lou and the others before her, I'm part of that relay, Andrew's part of that relay, and so is Christopher. Over the years, because we have been relentless, people have come to see the value, and not just the economic value. That is why the pillar is authentic and transformative. And two big words that, you know, them realize some people fake things out there and pretend say them are we. So it talk about authentic and transformative. It's not just for economic development. It's about the well-being, the mental, the social, and psychological well-being of the people that we are now beginning to look to our cultural expressions for. And COVID certainly has forced us, if we hadn't recognized it before, to recognize it now. When children and grandparents are at home because they can't come out, them they're on lockdown, what is it that they're doing? They're telling stories. And not just once upon a time and Nancy stories. Grandparents are talking about their lived experiences. What have they been through? How them see race course turn into Emancipation Park. and I said that because
you just picked my brain.
You know what I'm saying? And them see that, and them is the living, walking book. And so we're seeing the value of that. When children say they're bored now, and I hear people saying, when you're at home, teach your children the old-time games. Teach them the songs. That's about emotional, psychological, and mental well-being. So we're being forced to recognize the value of all our cultural forms for our survival, our healing, and our development as a people. And then after that, we're saying, what is the economic value of that which we do?
I'm going to say something now. We're coming up to, you know, that time when we'll have to let it go. And like Andrew, I'm going to have to bring you back by yourself. You know, again, this was an experiment and it's turned out pretty good. And I want to do a full program with you because here's what you said. You just picked my brain like a pickpocket a while ago. I was there waiting on you to come and say something about race course. I'm just itching because just last night in this house, you know, with my little gathering that was here, my family gathering, I was telling them about, I never use the word race course because I know they call it Heroes Park. Race course, to me, should not be touched if you have any sense of culture, the value of the culture. You see race course, that is where everything in sports, arts, and one of the great, Paul Robeson, performed in race course. If you go search the archives, you'll find where a stand broke down and some people died in race course. That's where everything used to take place. Let me tell you something. I went to South Africa and I visited Robben Island where Mandela was, because I'm not going to go if I don't get there. You know, the only thing that wouldn't let you in the cell. It's a very small space, tiny space.
I've been there.
Right. And you can only hold on to the bars and look in. If they might have even said, don't touch the bars. You can't touch anything. You can't take up a grain of sand out of Robben Island. You cannot pick up anything. You could be locked up for it. Now, race course has the history of our culture, of our sports. That's where sports, the love of sports, of running started in that same space named Racecourse, which is now National Heroes Park. And I tell you, it galls me to see somebody going to take that and put some stupid Parliament building in there. Let me tell you something. I work with my brother, who is the designer of that place. And nights upon nights, we'd spend time on the phone and we would be pushing around ideas. You see this thing what I'm talking about, who is hero and who is not hero? We were going to make it into a real Heroes Park with a walk of fame lanes that people could buy blocks with their parents' names on it. You could have a place just for all the great artists. So you wouldn't have to be worried about who's going to be after hundreds of great superstars we have. Would not have to be worried about them. Just like how Hollywood has the Hollywood Walk of Fame, the stars. We were going to do that to that place because that's how valuable that place is to Jamaica. So I don't want to take it. We have a couple of minutes left and I don't want to take all of it myself. So when you hit that one, you hit a nerve, a raw nerve inside of me because I've never seen anything. You know the kind of money we could attract with that place? That you talk about money, people will travel from, do you see what is happening in Europe with the Jamaican music? They would travel from wherever they are just to come walk in that place. And we are giving it away. We're going to plow it under and put the stupid for some idiots to go sit and make noise. That's what we're going to put in that space. So when you talk about culture, start thinking some more because you have the power. You could help to change some of this because we're going to give up too much. Right now, the place was supposed to be set aside for heroes to be put in there. Because of that, they stopped. No more heroes going in there. It stopped. Toots was the last one. Nobody else is going there. How many of them we still have left? You know, because you want to put a parliament bill. I know I put you on the spot, but that's kind of what, ticked me off.
No, but we know that whatever is not memorialized and marked will be forgotten. Now, you look in the Bible, and when the Jews are come out, or when them are come out, according to the Bible, God tell them, say, put up a stone. Yeah. So that when generations come after you and they ask, what is the meaning of this stone? Yes. Then so we know that markers are important.
Yes. Mrs.
I want to say this before, because I'm still watching the clock. I just want to say that this is my latest project behind me. My latest project is my latest children's book called Don't Hurt That Bird. And it's about nanny. Okay. And it's written for children in the age group 8 to 11. Mm-hmm. And the one before that is That's a Good Idea. And they're both available on Amazon. Good. And if you're in Jamaica, they're in all the major bookshops. So you know what they are. I won't give them any free publicity by calling their names, but all the major bookshops, and in a bookshop you might not have heard about called Fimi Bookshop. Fimi Bookshop is the back seat of my car. So anywhere you see my car, the back seat of my car. Have the books them in there. I wanted to say that.
Good. And we take it that this will be put on YouTube. It's going to be there for however long it will last on YouTube, and it's years. And, I want to just say how grateful I am for you to have agreed to come on, just the same I feel about Andrew coming on, and that, you guys are treasures, our treasures, and we have to learn to appreciate. And I look forward to hopefully, like you said, do the round table. And I'd love to have somebody like a Babsy Grange there too, because she's in the one decision-making kind of thing to do things. And we should do it sometime early next year, because we need to at least, the icons need to start setting the whatever it is in motion, to set whatever we want. Put it in motion, not wait for somebody who has nothing to do with it or no feel for it to be making these decisions, right? So thank you. Is there any last word you want to say about anything?
Just how honored I was to be here with you, with Andrew. Andrew and I have been talking via emails. We haven't met up close and personal. When he said he established Braata Productions 13 years ago, I did the maths and I made that 2008. So I wonder if I taught Andrew at Edna Manley College and don't remember. Maybe him not remember either, so maybe I wasn't a good teacher.
Don't feel too bad. Remember you.
Yeah, because I don't teach the arts like that. I teach culture and identity. And then all the schools have to do it. And then Christopher and I go way back. His parents and I have been very good friends. And I wrote the foreword to Christopher's collection of poetry. So it feels to me like a family gathering.
Great.
Of course, you and I met because of a fabulous occasion.
It was same Christopher's wedding.
Christopher's fabulous occasion.
They put us, the gods put us together. The spirit brought us together at that table. And it was really a great experience when I sat there and chatted with you. And I told you we were going to do something one day. I didn't know what it was, but I think this is part of it.
So this is fabulous. And so I want to wish everyone that we stay safe, that we stay sane. Just block out all of the panic and everything else. Just stay safe and stay sane. You know, when we have the weekend lockdowns, and people can't wait till Monday morning, I would say to my friends, we're wrong at your house, so. As you are Monday morning, come so you can leave.
Yes.
And it's an opportunity to step
to
back
learn, a teaching.
Yeah, I know all the problems of those brothers and sisters who have problems at home. I'm not minimizing it, but I'm saying that the rest of us have an opportunity to block out the noises and return to a different kind of sanity. And I wish you all peace and love and joy and fellowship, and that we will be here to walk the walk and dream the dreams together.
We're going to put it right. We're going to get it right the next. We're going to do that round table. I want to go back and thank Mr. Christopher Castriota for coming on and doing his two pieces. For thanking Mr. Andrew Braata Clarke for coming. And, you know, I look forward to really doing a full program, if not that round table for about 2 hours with the star culture and what needs to be done. And of course, the Queen, Amina Blackwood.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on under the spotlight. It's been my pleasure having you, and I look forward to doing some more things soon in the new year. All right. Have a great night.
God bless you.
All the best for the new year.
Yes, you too. Thanks, everybody.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.